Hey marketing leader, it's Thomas from NerdCow again, and how have you been doing? It's really great to see you, and today I would like to talk to you about something very close to my heart and very close to NerdCow, and that is Agile development process. In other words, I will tell you all about building a website in Agile, and I will also mention the more traditional way of building a website and why I think it's not as efficient as it could be. So stick around, and if you're thinking about building a new website, you'll love this video. In a very short summary, we'll talk about waterfall approach, what's good and what's bad about it, I guess. What are the pitfalls of it? We'll also discuss the Agile methodology and definition of it. We'll think about Agile for web development specifically, because it's not as popular as one can think. I will give you some hints on putting together an Agile team, because there is more to it than it seems at first. And then we'll jump into key benefits, just so you know what's in it for you. Yep. I'm that good. All right, see you in a bit. Let's ask ourselves, why do we even need Agile methodology? Well, because let's think, what's the alternative? Well, Waterfall. And Waterfall approach has its good sides and has its bad sides. And if for those who don't know, Waterfall is a very linear process of doing things, because it's subsequential. You have to complete one task before you can move to the other one, and you can't just go against the current, or you can't skip a task. It's all very, very linear, and you can see those examples in many places in real world. Probably in manufacturing, you have to do one thing before you can do another thing. Perhaps you could do both things simultaneously and then have them come together at some stage. That is an Agile creeping into the process, but overall the underlying theme is that Waterfall is very step-by-step process, linear process. That's the bottom line. Good sides are, from the get-go, you have clear plan of action. And I think this is a huge selling point for many people with fixed budget and fixed timelines, because Agile doesn't appreciate neither of those. Waterfall is probably a good choice if you are with a fixed mindset or with a fixed plan of action, and you need to know exactly what's going to happen within the time frame if you commit. But that's where good sides end, I'm afraid. Well, unless you have a different opinion, then please do share it with me, but this is my video and I say what I want. So, bad side to Waterfall is that it is its own worst enemy, because if everything is linear and if everything depends on each other, like every step depends on the preceding step, then it means it's prone to delays. Imagine something wrong goes in one of the steps and it causes that domino effect, that ripple effect across the whole thing towards the bottom. That's the trouble. And that's actually how website projects fail, or when they deliver, when they exceed the budget, or when they disappoint or miss deadlines. That's exactly why. And it's not the fault of people who work in that way. It's just fundamental flaw in the methodology. And also, another thing that's worth mentioning is scope creep. I go through life with an assumption that I don't know what I don't know. I can't expect unexpected. In Waterfall, it demands that you know everything up front. So when you have a fixed deadline, fixed budget, fixed deliveries, you have to do a lot of research and planning up front to ensure nothing creeps up on you. That's what the scope creep is. And frankly, you just can't do it. I am yet to see a software-based project that has no scope creep. That's just impossible. Yet people still attempt to build website in the waterfall method. Well, because that's been known for ages. That's how people think. That's very logical step. It's nothing revolutionary. It's just natural in a way. And it's tempting. It's very tempting to work that way because you can easily sell it to a client. because they are already familiar with that way of thinking. People take shortcuts and they end up in shit. That's what it is. To cut story short, we decided to stay away from Waterfall as Nerd Cow and try to bring some fresh air into the industry and web design agency world, where we can maybe change the way we think about websites and how we build them. So maybe in a scenario like that, people are just much more happy when they come to work. They get to enjoy the creative side of the project. It doesn't feel like a chore. It's more like fun. It's just enjoyable. That's when Agile methodology comes into play. And what's the main difference, and it's a huge topic, and we could probably host a panel of questions and panel of speakers on Agile. Very easy. There are conferences, huge conferences devoted to Agile thinking and Agile way of working. But to keep it simple for the sake of this video and for the appreciation of your time truly, Agile is when many things happen simultaneously and then come together at some point. That's it. You remove that linearity. Is that a word? I don't know, but you get it. There you go. Agile for you, right? I'm not gonna look it up now in dictionary and repeat it and make the editor cut it out again and blah, blah, blah. No, you got it, right? There you go. Let go of perfection. I think the best part of Agile methodology is that it makes people accountable for what they do and how they contribute to the project. There's clear division of responsibility. You do that, I do that, you do that, and then eventually a product emerges because everyone contributed, and that's it. That's the end of the story, really. So that's how we prefer to build websites. There's no need to delay backend works when front-end happens. You do those things simultaneously. Also, there's no need to worry about writing, privacy cookie policies when we don't even know what integrations we're going to have and how clients want to track visitors and what do they truly want to get out of that website. You worry about crossing the bridge when you come to it. You don't have to overwhelm yourself with all those endless possibilities of things that can go wrong, things you have to catch up on, and then all those dependencies between things. You just don't worry about it. It's not the right time to worry about them. It's just freeing, if I was to put it in one word. It's freeing. But on the more professional note, instead of talking about efficiency and team morale, on the professional front, what's in it for the business? I think the underlying reason to go Agile is that it always brings value to your business. And how you measure value, how you track that value, what you consider valuable, it's up to you. But however you define it, you're damn right and damn sure that Agile will deliver it. And if not, you'll very quickly learn from the mistake and why it didn't. You will correct the course and you will eventually deliver it anyway. Thinking about it, there's one extra thing that clients that work with us really appreciate when they are in the middle of engagement with us, meaning when we actually build the website for them, is that the Agile process allows for a lot of flexibility. If you think about it, business is an extremely dynamic beast. It changes all the time, and because there are many people working in a business, there's different ideas floating around the rooms all the time. There are meetings happening, decisions get made. Waterfall just can't keep up with it because let's say you are four months into development and the market has already moved on, yet you haven't even launched. So what do? You either go back to square one and start again, and then cycle repeats itself, or you continue knowing that whatever you're building is not right for the business anyway, or you just write it off. 4 months of people's time and money. So that's where flexibility and adaptability of Agile shines. Because it promotes that communication, collaboration over documentation, you get to talk to your people all the time, daily, then weekly, then every other week as well. There are different rituals that keep the comms open all the time. So everyone's up to date, everyone can pitch in, can raise concerns, you work as a team, and you just move on. You push forward. And that's really great. So I think this is a huge selling point now. Think about it. I need to put it down in proposals. Thanks. Now. Agile is not that problem-free, especially when we try to build websites in Agile. We face a few issues, and I'm speaking from experience. We turned Agile a few years ago, and we had to solve many problems and adjust our way of working on multiple occasions. So what I want to do now is to go through those 3 points that are blockers in this kind of transition and that flip in the mindset. As you may know, Agile finds its roots in heavy software engineering world. A manifesto, the rules for it, were invented by 12 software engineers. And what it means that in the world of software engineering, projects take a long time to build, even in Agile. And Waterfall doesn't even stand a chance to build them in the first place, probably. But in Agile, if you build an app for an airport, or you have an online grocery store that needs an app, it takes months or a year to build, even with like 10 developers working in parallel. That's the reality of it. There's so much to take into account. You'd be taking ages to build it if you just had 1 or 2 developers on the project. With websites, they are much shorter. So you can't take ages to build them because there's no age to take. If we are not taking months to build something, but instead we take weeks, it only makes sense to speed things up. Now, mind you that Agile is all about communication. You need to talk to people all the time to make sure that everybody is on track, they prioritize their work properly, and they all work towards the same goal. Now, if project takes just a few weeks, you have to shorter the feedback loop. You have to keep meeting more frequently. In proper software engineering scenario, you might be meeting every 2 weeks, but most likely every month. It depends on the scope of the project, I guess, or number of people involved, but the frequency of meetings is probably between 2 to 4 weeks, somewhere in there. So imagine if website was scheduled for 4 weeks of development. You would only get maximum 2 opportunities to talk to your team. And that's a problem. You can't have that kind of a gap, especially if at the beginning of the project, the velocity of the team is so high because you keep building those small pieces of interface daily. Like you can literally churn out buttons, fonts, colors, some basic separators and sections in a day. Really, you can do that. You have to keep talking to those people as frequently as possible to ensure a smooth progress. To establish more control over a project like this, over a website project, here at NerdCow we meet at least once a week. And that shift helped tremendously to keep everyone in the loop, including stakeholders, the client, and it just makes the collaboration that much easier. But there is a trouble in paradise. If you have a shorter loops, shorter cycles, you meet more often, it comes with higher project management tax. Now, Waterfall is in another league. I think one of the biggest problems with Waterfall is project management tax. But in Agile, it doesn't go away. And the shorter feedback loops, the more project management tax you will incur. Whether you work in Agile or in Waterfall, estimating tasks is still a thing. You estimate them differently in those scenarios, but needless to say, and regardless, you still estimate. That's the fact. The more time you spend estimating, the more things you have to estimate, the less time goes into actual work and delivering of those requirements, those tasks. So there are 2 things that we did here at NerdCow to fight that. First of all, we implemented a design sprint at the beginning of every engagement. So if you decide to work with us, build a website with us, we will invite you to 5-day long workshop that will clear up the air, help us understand your business, and prioritize things. That's very important. So when we actually go through those 5 days, at the end, not only we have a website prototype, a minimum viable website prototype, we also have priority. We know what we have to build. It's there in the prototype. And we also know what's important to you, what's valuable to you as a business owner. So there's design sprint, where we always have at least one, sometimes two. But also what we do is we keep client involved in every weekly meeting. And that almost shifts responsibility of prioritizing over to the client, or at least we get their input while we maintain the list ourselves. Either way, it's great because it removes that back and forth. In case we get it wrong, client is there on the spot to correct us. And those two things just made the problem go away. And then comes design tags. I've myself experienced this many times in different agencies that I worked with, where designer is somehow detached from the development. And I can't really blame them because they all followed the waterfall approach. What it meant for them that designs were prepared upfront to development. So you had to complete design phase before you could move on to development phase. The thing is, you really can't do it. Designer and developer are one. They're a team that delivered the product. And having them separate and having them isolated to that extent is just wrong. It really hurts the health of the project and it causes so many issues. Unbelievable. Design tags is when designer spends all their time listening to clients' requirements, doing research, reading the technical scope of the project, designing something. It goes to development, and then developer raises tons of questions because designs are not complete. They don't include all the states of the button. They don't account for edge scenarios, and developer has to go back to designer. They go back to square one. They have to go back to the client for approval, and it just goes on. And that designer is effectively doing the same work twice. There's that tax involved. When instead of that, had they been in touch with the developer, or developer actually been in touch with them, they could have delivered the designs right on the first attempt and then already move on to something else. When instead, in that scenario, they have to double in that design for ages and often start again. And that's design tax. Another moment when you can incur in the design tax is when either the designer misinterprets the requirements and they design something that's not in line with what was expected, or you have a client that's just not happy with the designs and they keep suggesting changes over and over again and the design phase never ends. That's also design tax because there's no value in those changes. They're clearly aesthetically pleasing. You see, when we get an email from someone that says they think their gallery is not aesthetically pleasing, we don't care. And this is harsh, but this is your subjective preference that has no monetary value in real life. And whether you do that aesthetic change or not, it doesn't matter. In fact, it may worsen your results from the live traffic that you want to, get. We wouldn't say no. We would say, okay, let's test it. What I'm getting at, if you don't go agile and you don't have all those preventative measures in place, which I will mention in a second, you will find yourself working with clients who are just possessive, annoying, and they don't get it. And that's when you will pay design tax as the creative team. So how to fight that? Well, you simply do a design sprint. Design sprint is answer to everything. Well, at least to that. Why? Because when you do a design sprint, you allow the client to vent all their ideas, frustrations, and contribute to the overall state of the future website on a very personal level. They feel like user-tested prototype that you get at the end of the design sprint, it's theirs. And they won't criticize what's theirs, unless they're insane. I don't know. But this is very similar to what IKEA does. In fact, it's called IKEA effect, and we have a very separate video on it. And what it means that you are less likely to criticize and complain about stuff that you built yourself. And Design Sprint is a great tool to achieve that, really. And it removes all the friction, all the misalignment in the expectations very clearly, very early on, and it just makes the entire process later that much better. If you haven't got the idea what it's like to build a website using Agile, I will quickly remind you of the benefits. First of all, there's no tug of war. And tug of war is a persistent fixture. Actually, fixture, I think it can only be persistent. But anyway, English, right? In Waterfall, tug of war is there. Granted, you always have tug of war, whether that's between a client and agency or internally or even with another supplier. I don't know. There's always something that's wrong. It just fuels that conversation, what's been agreed, what wasn't, what needs the extra charge or what doesn't. No. In Agile, it doesn't exist. There's no tug of war because the entire environment is highly collaborative. Everybody gets to contribute and it just works. Second of all, you have user in the middle of the story. There's another video that we launched this week about writing user stories. I highly recommend you take a look. But bottom line is that the user drives the story. Next time you think about the feature for the website, you don't go and say, I need a newsletter. No, that's not how you define a requirement. The way you define requirement is, as a website visitor, that's your website visitor, I want to sign up to newsletter so that I get updates to my inbox. And now, when the user is the hero of the story, you can think of potential solutions. Maybe newsletter is not the way. Maybe a notification bell in the navigation is a better idea. Or maybe some kind of floating banner is a better idea. I don't know. You have to test it. But you see what I'm getting at? You can actually come up with a solution once you define the problem. But throwing up in the air what you want, it holds no value. I'm sorry. Lastly, it's flexible. The entire approach is flexible. So you can wake up in the morning and be like, oh my God, that's a great idea. You come to me, you say the idea, we define the value for the end user, we write down definition of done, what it actually looks like, that's what we define, and then we schedule it, we prioritize it, we know what we have in the queue, what the team is currently working on, how does it fit into the picture, is it more important than A, is it more important than B, or maybe it has the lowest priority, but it's good to have it there, to not forget about it. Simple as that. It's flexible, adaptable, just like your business, and just the way it should be. We're all human. We all change our minds all the time, and so does business. Big question ahead of us. How to assemble an Agile team. An Agile team is more than just designers and developers. You can probably imagine that. The thing is, the team has to give the project their entire undivided attention. We usually call them cross-functional teams because they are internal self-sustaining organisms within an organization. Designer and developer can build a product on their own. You need extra people. And usually there are also quality testers, product owners, or there'll be copywriters, right? You can't build a website without copy, and you need to test things. And you also need someone to communicate with the client, product owner. So usually 5 people: designer, developer, quality tester, copywriter, product owner who communicates with the client. There can be more. Now, you might be asking, what about experts like legal advice or CEO or whatever? These people, we consider them external. It's Agile team responsibility to keep them in the loop, meet with them to update on the progress, and absorb any executive decisions and then adapt. Remember about flexibility of it all, but they're not part of the Agile team. We don't consider them part of the Agile team, of the delivery team. They are just there to advise, keep them in the loop, and go into separate ways. Okay, so that's it. That's really it. You just need about 5 people. I think I will do the best justice to this video if I sum it up in form of key benefits. There's a lot that's been said, a lot about Waterfall, Agile, who does what, why, etc. But there are key benefits to it all that I want you to take away from this video. And I don't expect you to turn agile the minute after you've done watching this. Hell, it takes organizations years to turn agile. That's fine. Don't be so hard on yourself. But if there's anything from this video I want you to remember is this. In agile, everyone contributes to the project. And that means there is sense of ownership, which helps down the line with eliminating any disagreements, tug of war, ensures the pace, healthy pace, so-called velocity if you want to get technical. It keeps the morale high and everyone is just feels like they belong and they are appreciated and is great. It's just good environment to work in. There's constant alignment between team members, and that also may include external stakeholders, which I mentioned just before a minute ago. Within an agile team, the alignment is strong. Everyone is on the same page, and that's thanks to all the rituals that we call them that are part of the process. So you meet daily, and that's called daily stand-up or daily meetup or however you want to call it, as long as it happens daily, okay? And everyone comes to daily meeting to report what they will be working on, to mention any issues, just recap on the previous day. It's just this transparency between team members that happens, and it doesn't take long. It's literally 2 minutes per person, 3 minutes per person. You can say, yesterday everything went well. Today I'm focusing on XYZ. Oh, by the way, David, I will need this from you by the end of today if I want to go ahead with this. So, look, this is clean, sharp, simple, transparent, brilliant. But we don't end there. If you are on the so-called receiving end, aka a client, you won't be part of daily stand-ups. You will be part of sprint reviews and retrospective meetings. Sprint review happens at the end of every sprint, and I know I haven't talked a lot about sprints. In fact, I don't think I mentioned them because it's not the video about Agile as such. It's more about giving you an idea how it is to build website in Agile. In a pill, sprint is an agreed amount of time that will be used to deliver something. You have a queue with features like navigation, newsletter, etc. And you estimate that you will take 2 sprints to deliver these. And a sprint can be a week. As I mentioned, in websites world, we keep the loop quite short. So for us, it's a week. But in more advanced and complex projects, maybe between 2 to 4 weeks each sprint. So just to bring you up to speed very quickly, sorry if I forgot to mention that earlier. At the end of every sprint, for us every week, that'd be, you meet with us, we give you an update, we show you a demo of what's happening, what works, what doesn't. You get to see things in action because by now they're done. And then we plan the next sprint and we just go like that until everything is done. Right? So we just constantly talk. That's very important. But also those sprint reviews are a great opportunity for the stakeholders to join in and listen and see what's happening. So if CEO wants to join one of the sprint reviews, let him, by all means. And if he has a question, there you go. That's the right place to get answers to their questions. Also, finally, you have retrospective. We retrospectively debate what went wrong and what went well. Doesn't have to be that often. It can be every 2 weeks if you like to frequently take a look at the past, but you can do that every other month. Whatever works. I mean, Agile in its definition is Agile. So whatever works for you, just keep on doing that and you'll be awesome. If you want to sum this point up, is literally your team can't be misaligned because of so many discussion points that you have throughout the process. It's just impossible to have something misinterpreted or not delivered the way it should have been. That's the second benefit. The alignment of the team is a great benefit. And finally, there's no need for this bulky upfront work that you associate often with Waterfall. There's no need to plan years of development ahead to every single dot. You simply just look about 2 weeks into the future. You work on that, and as you proceed, you keep expanding that roadmap based on the learnings, and you just go like that because you can't expect unexpected. You can't know what you don't know. On that note, I'll finish this video. I know it's been a bit lengthy, but for now, thank you so much for joining. And if you feel a bit disappointed on a couple of points, I feel you, but I didn't want this video to turn into 2-hour monologue. I just wanted to, at high level, give you a sense of how it is to work in Agile and what are the benefits of it, how it's different from what's there out there on the market right now. And if you want to know more about the intricacies of Agile, just stay around. We will upload many videos about Agile, I'm sure. We also have thousands of words, articles in our blog on every single one of those questions that you might have. Trust me, we've covered it all. And plus, you can always just reach out to us on any social media with questions or drop a comment and we'll fill in the blanks for you. No props at all. So again, thanks so much for patience. If you reach this point in the video, it means you really like me. So stick around, hit subscribe, and I will see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.